Let's pick up the conversation here. I'm going to bring in now political analyst David Schuster and GOP strategist Joe Pinion. Guys, thanks so much for coming on here. We saw this big ad, right? So Trump's taking out an ad. You've got the Democrats over there. They're going to have the debate tonight here. Joe, I'm going to start with you. How important is the West for President Trump? Because he really is making his presence known.
Look, I think, again, the president is flexing some muscle. He's flexing the fact that he's got a bit of a war chest now, more so than any other presidential incumbent that we've ever seen before. But he's also, I think, making a point to make this side-by-side comparison. While Democrats are pretending that these 6 million jobs mean nothing, we understand that those are real families. We understand that that's food on the table. We understand that, again, these increased wages that Nancy Pelosi calls crumbs are the difference between individuals not being able to make ends meet and being able to give their family that little extra that they deserve.
Well, look, yeah, 6 million jobs created, but actually, if you look at the last 3 years of the Obama administration, he created more jobs per month than Donald Trump did. But I am so glad that Joe has now become the leader of the Republicans for Bernie Sanders. Bernie! No, he hasn't. But maybe.
Joe, you're going to take that?
Because we're going to talk about socialism, I imagine, a lot this year. And the tax cuts certainly have benefited a certain class of society, and others have not benefited. But I'll let you lead here.
Well, look, Joe, don't worry. You're going to get back to this. I want to stay in the West for a second here. California, we even look ahead to Super Tuesday. I know we're talking about the rally in Arizona and all that in Las Vegas, but California, big in Super Tuesday. Yeah. How big is this? And I want to switch it to the candidates. Which candidate does this mean the most to? Bloomberg?
Well, I think it means the most for Bloomberg because, again, he is the first person really in a serious way pioneering this enter the fray on Super Tuesday methodology. So, again, right now he's running the most beautiful and arguably most expensive art project in the history of American politics. It's working very well for him. I think I've made the comment that he should somehow find somebody to get him to not get on the debate stage tonight because he has only everything to lose and nothing to gain. But I think it's important for him. I think, again, you look at somebody like Joe Biden, the air has come out the balloon like the Hindenburg. He's on a one-way trip to the basically, the political afterlife. So that's really what we're dealing with right now. And I think, again, Bernie Sanders is just chugging along. Socialism is moving, and that's where the Democrats are headed.
Well, I'm not so sure that Democrats are so focused right now on socialism, but they certainly are focused on Bernie Sanders. The latest polls in California show him beating Joe Biden by 15 points, beating Bloomberg by 18 points. So, yeah, if Bernie Sanders gets a double-digit victory on Super Tuesday in California, I think the nomination literally is going to be his. And then the question is, can the Democrats say, look, Bernie Sanders doesn't really support socialism. It's more sort of the progressive democratic policies like FDR, maybe like Barack Obama. They're going to have to pivot and then make the argument that if we want to talk about socialism, let's talk about the corporate giveaways and the government socialism for the wealthiest corporations in America. And then the question is, can Bernie Sanders negate that and say, well, let's not have the debate about socialism, because I know Joe wants to win that. Let's have a debate about whether Donald Trump is actually going to cut Social Security, take away your health care, and give tax cuts to the wealthy. How's that?
I mean, that's one way to frame it. I mean, the other way to frame it is he going to take away the health care that your unions have organized for? That's tantamount to wage theft. Is he going to come out here and start talking about fantasy giveaways of, bailouts for college tuition to families in the Midwest who couldn't afford to go to college themselves and couldn't afford to send their
bailed out the banks back in 2009 to the tune of $700 million.
I mean, let's be very clear. You bailed out the banks because otherwise people are failing. So, I mean, that's the reality.
Well, there is a misnomer, I think, a little bit about healthcare, right? And it is true that the unions would have to sort of face the fact that perhaps there's a new system and it wouldn't be in the union's benefit to start providing health care, and a lot of union workers might oppose that. But the other part about it is under Medicare for All, you still get to pick your private physician. It's not as if the government says, oh, you must take this physician and that physician. You still get it, and you can still buy supplemental insurance, so that Joe Pinion, when he wants his caviar the next time he's in the hospital, he can buy insurance.
I'm a caviar guy. Well, look, man, I'm a hot dog man myself.
He's a hot dog guy. Let me get off the food menu real quick. I want to get back really quick to Bloomberg. Reuters recently released an article here about something Bloomberg said when he was running for mayor. I think this was back in 2001, about how spending a certain amount of money, I think it was like $30 million, is, quote, obscene. I think we're seeing a lot of, obviously he spent one of the tune of $344 million, I think, on his campaign so far. I think that holding him accountable to things that he said in the past, this is going to be the play. I just want to get your thoughts on that. How much do you hold Bloomberg accountable for the things he said 19 years or 20 years ago, et cetera? David,
I think that's a great question. I mean, I think the irony is that people will hold him more accountable for trying to take away people's soda, as he did in New York, than necessarily some of his policies. But look, we talked about this before, stop and frisk, and his attitude towards how you try to get rid of gun violence. I mean, that is fair game, particularly in a Democratic Party. And I do think Bloomberg's going to have to repeatedly apologize, as he's done so far, for some of these policies that he's going to get hammered on.
Look, I think actually the apology tour is actually what's going to kill him. I think Bloomberg is facing his Access Hollywood moment the same way that Trump did. I think the only difference is that Trump basically, stuck a fork in basically his opposition, and Bloomberg is on an apology tour. So I think, honestly, when you look at where he is right now, that's not going to undo him. What's going to undo him is the fact that he wants to take away people's guns, the fact that he wants to take away people's big gulps, and ultimately, I mean, when you look at the actual full spectrum here, I mean, Mike Bloomberg's problem is not that he's going to spend all the money, but almost like New Coke, right? All the money in the world couldn't save New Coke. It's still bad. It's still bitter. And people forget that, Mike Bloomberg hasn't been on the debate stage in nearly a decade.
Well, that's perhaps the key for tonight, right? All these Democratic candidates have had 15 times to sort of hone their message. This is Bloomberg's first in sort of real time. And I do think, I mean, in a Democratic primary, it is still going to be tough for Democrats to swallow, not only that he's a billionaire, but that he was a Republican for most of his life. He endorsed George W. Bush over John Kerry. He supported the Iraq War. He spoke at the GOP convention. All of a sudden, for Bloomberg to now say, oh, well, I'm really a Democrat, I think there's a trust factor that Democrats
I think, again, we get stuck in this. I say Mike Bloomberg has name saturation on the Amtrak Acela. Right now, across America, most people don't know him. He's just a guy who's spending a lot of money. And we forget that President Trump was a Democrat before he was a Republican. Bloomberg was a Democrat before he was a Republican, before he was a Democrat. So I don't think that matters as much to people who are looking for somebody who can actually beat Donald Trump, and they see a winner there.
Either way, you're going to know his name tonight. He will be on the debate stage. There's a reason to watch there and see what happens. It's always a pleasure to have these guys on. As David,
I'm telling you, viewers are going to know Joe Pinion's name in 2020.
What are you talking about? They already do. He eats caviar during his thing he's talking about.
Oh, my
All right,
goodness.
coming up next, guys, thanks so much.